Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. So in this video we're going to look at how we can use a page view controller to create something similar to what we have here. So we have a set of a few different images, and when you scroll like this or swipe, it'll go to the next image. And this will be useful for something maybe if you were creating a storefront where you have maybe a product here with a description and then another product and so forth. So let's get into it. Let's open up Xcode and we're going to create a new Xcode project, and it's going to be a single view application, and let's just call it page view demo, and you can call it whatever you like, and we'll create that. And I already have one created, so we'll replace that. And the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to drag in our photos that we're going to use. So we're going to use this one, this one, this one, and then finally this one right here. And I just have them saved nature underscore pic underscore and then 1 through 4, just make it easier when we actually call them in our view controller. So now let's go into our main.storyboard and we'll begin to set this up. Alright, so now that we're inside our storyboard, we just need to do a couple of things quick before we actually get into our code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag in a page view controller. So drag that in, and then we're going to click on that and give it a storyboard ID of something like, I'm going to call mine page controller, like that. And then we're also just going to drag in another empty view controller, and we'll put it right there. And we'll give this one an ID of item controller. And then I'm also going to go over here, and then I'm going to change its background color, maybe something like a light gray. And then finally I'm just going to drag in an image view right in the center, expand it a little bit. So yeah, something like that looks good. And then we'll reset the suggested constraints. And then lastly, we're just going to right click over here. We're going to create a new file. And it's going to be a Cocoa Touch class. And it's going to be subclass of UI view controller. And we're going to call this one item view controller. And create that. And then we just need to go back into our storyboard and click on this view controller with our image view, and we need to set the class to item view controller. Alright, so now back in our storyboard, we're just going to create an outlet for our image view here. And before I like making any outlets, I just always clean our project, just because sometimes it causes error in Xcode. But let's open the assistant editor, and sorry, let me change the preferences quick. And Xcode crashed on me. Alright, I'll be right back, guys. Hold on. Alright, so we're back and running. As you can see, Xcode isn't flawless, but so it's control drag from our image view here, and we'll call it something like content image view, like that. And we'll close this, and we'll actually go into our item view controller. So we're going to add a few spaces up here before our image view, and we're going to call a few different variables. So the first one's going to be var item index, and it's going to be of type integer, and it's going to be equal to 0 because we want it to start at 0 for our first image. Next variable image name, and that's going to be of type string, and that's just equal to open and closed parentheses, like that. And then we're going to open bracket, and inside of here we're going to call it did set, and then we're going to go if let image view is equal to content image view. Then we're going to say image view dot image is equal to UI image, and then names, and then we'll actually be calling it image name. And then lastly, all we need in here in our view did load is something like content image view dot image is equal to UI image names image name, like that. And let's run it and just see if we get any errors, and we shouldn't. So we should be able to jump into our view controller. And I'm just going to cancel this for now. So now into our view controller, we're going to do a few different things here. But the first thing we're going to do is up here, we want to call UI page controller delegate, or I'm sorry, not delegate, data source. Alright, and then down here we're going to call variable page view controller, and that's going to be a type UI page view controller. And then we're going to create an array that's going to hold our images. So let images equal, and then we're going to call, if you recall these images right here, we're just going to call these. So the first one is going to be nature underscore pic underscore 1, and we can actually copy this and we'll paste that. And then you just need to change this to 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so down here under our did receive memory warning, we're going to create a function. So let's go func create page view controller, just like that. And then we're also going to create a function called setup page control, like that. And then inside our view did load, just so we don't forget, we're just going to call both of them a while. So create page controller and then also set up page control. Alright, so now what we want to do is we're going to go into our create page view controller, and the first thing we're going to do is create a variable. So let page controller equal self dot storyboard dot instantiate view controller with identifier, and we're going to give it a string, and it's going to be page controller, and that's going to be as type UI page view controller. And then we can call page controller dot data source is equal to self, like that. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to create an if statement, basically saying if we actually get images from this array, we're going to set a few different variables and things such as the navigation direction. So yeah, let's get into it. The first thing we need to do is if, and I'm actually going to change this array name to content images just to be a little bit more clear. So if content images is greater than 0, open bracket, close bracket, then we're going to call a variable. So let first controller equal get item controller, and we'll throw that 0, and then let starting view controllers equal first controller, like that. And then what we need to do is call page controller dot set view controllers, and the first one's going to be starting view controllers. The direction is going to be UI page view controller navigation direction dot forward. Animated is going to be false, and completion is going to be no. And then outside of here, we're going to call page view controller equals page controller, and then add child, and then the child controller is just going to be page view controller, like that. Then we need to say self.view.add subview, and we're going to call page view controller dot view, and don't forget our exclamation point there. And then we need to say page view controller dot did move, and then we're going to call self, like that. Alright, and actually before we move on to our next function, this right here, this error, we can actually fix this while, and the reason it says binary operator cannot be applied to operands of type string, and basically we just need to say .count here, like that, and then that won't give us that error anymore. And then this one right here, like I said, we're going to call a few different functions down here that'll satisfy this page view controller data source. I don't know why it's like that, but like that. Alright, so now let's work on our setup page control function. So inside here, basically all we're going to do is just create the appearance of our page control. So the first thing we're going to do is create a variable, so let appearance equal UI page control dot appearance, and then we want appearance dot page indicator tint color, and we'll say UI color dot gray, and then appearance dot current page indicator tint color, and we'll say UI color dot white. Then finally appearance dot background color equals UI color dot dark gray. Alright, so now that we have that, we just need to add a few more methods so we can satisfy this error up here and we can conform to this protocol. Alright, so the first one we're going to call is page view controller before, so this one right here. And inside of here, all we're going to call is something like let item controller equal view controller as item view controller. And then I want to say if item controller dot item index is greater than 0, then we just want to return get item controller dot item index -1. Alright, and let's see what this error is. And then finally, this right here, we just need to return no, like that. Alright, so now we need to do the same thing essentially, but for view controller after. So we can go click on view controller after, and then we're going to do the same thing, but just for the sake of the tutorial, I'll type it out. So I'm just going to do a little quicker this time. Let item controller equal view controller as item view controller, and then it's going to be if item, come on, autocomplete, It would help if I spelled if right. If item controller dot item index plus 1 is greater than, or is less than content images dot count. Then we're just going to return get item controller dot item index plus 1. And these get item controller all make sense in a second. And then lastly, we just need to return new, like that. Alright, so now we're just going to add 2 methods here. The first is going to be presentation count, and inside of there we're just going to return content images dot count. And then the second function we're going to add is presentation index, and inside of there we're going to return 0. Return 0. Alright, we have 3 more methods to go before we can actually run our application. Alright, so the first one's going to be func current controller index. And I'm going to push out a variable. And then inside of there, we're going to say let page item controller equals self dot current controller index. Current controller, sorry. Then if let controller equals page item controller as item view controller. Then I'm just going to return controller dot item index. And then down here we'll just return -1. Alright, so our second function that we need is func current controller, and that's going to be UI view controller. And inside of here we're going to call another if statement, so if self dot page view controller dot view controllers dot count is greater than 0, then we're going to return self dot page view controller dot view controllers, and inside of here we just want to put 0. And then outside of this bracket we just need to return nil again. Alright, so the very last function we need is that get item controller that keeps giving us all the error messages. So let's say get func get item controller. Inside of here we're going to call item index, and we're going to pass that an integer, and we're going to call item view controller. And then inside of here we're going to say if item index is less than content images dot count, an open bracket, close bracket, and we're going to call a variable, so let page item controller equals self dot storyboard dot instantiate view controller with identifier, and inside here we're going to call item controller, and that's going to be as item view controller. Then we want to say page item controller dot item index equals item index, and then we're going to say page item controller dot image name is equal to content images, and then we're going to send it to item indexes right there, and then we're just going to return our page item controller, and then outside of this bracket lastly we return no. Alright, so now we should be able to run it and hopefully we get what we want. Alright, so as you can see, it's loaded up here, but it doesn't show our page view controller, and the reason that is because right now the scroll is set to this page curl, which looks fine, but we want to change that. So go back to our main.storyboard, and we want to click on our page view controller and change the transition style to scroll. Now we'll rerun our application, and this time our page control at the bottom should appear. Alright, so as you can see, here it is at the bottom. We have that dark gray with the white tinted. So as we scroll, as you can see, it switches, and as we go back, it goes back and forth, just like that. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you learned a lot. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below if you want the full source code. Until next time, peace.